Good morning. My name's Matt. I am millennial. I'm aspiring to be somewhere in the natural sciences and or engineering or technology fields. Um, I have a pretty deep passion for the natural sciences, actually. Um, Specifically, algorithms and mathematics applied to bioscience and bioscience applications. Um, I got my bachelor's in biochemistry from the University of Delaware. Um, since my graduation, I've been working on a few projects for open source development. Some of them are related to Illumina data sequencing uh, and sequence processing. I'm currently, I have my own vector database. It's for k-mer count vectors and similarity metrics, and it does clustering. It does a bunch of other different things, but it's mostly meant for exploring software architecture and patterns of creating reusable software, good documentation, uh, issue tracking, that kind of thing. It's got somewhere like 40,000, 50,000 downloads. Most of them are probably bots. Um, but it's called KmerDB, and it's on the Python Packaging Index, or PIP, some people call it. Um, So you can run pip install KmerDB and play with it. Check it out. Last version I think I published was 0.96, and that was last year. It's also on GitHub. The other stuff that I work on mostly pertains to ELN related technologies and let's say prompts. I care a lot about documentation because documentation makes things work. Makes it easy to reuse code. Most of the code that I write is either Bash, R, sometimes Python. I'm experimenting with data structures and data classes and type related stuff, enums and pattern matching stuff. I can build basic full stack applications. I don't tend to use AI or agents to augment my code generation, so I'm kind of like a AI free idealist at the moment. And it's mostly because I don't have any training in security practices for running any agents or anything like that on my own machine. So I use Olama and Gemma 4 locally. Anyway, that's a little bit about me. I'm open to work. I've got 5 years of experience in industry, which is significant, mostly at a pharmaceutical firm. I worked at 2 locations in New Jersey for the pharmaceutical firm Bristol Myers Squibb. Then I moved to Bayer Crop Sciences in St. Louis, and since then I've been door dashing and dealing with personal life stuff. Yeah, so I built some cloud-related applications, AWS exclusively, for Bristol Myers and Bayer. And most of it was kind of lift and shift. It wasn't AWS specific architecture patterns. I'm conversant and familiar with most of the basic services, including Redshift, the the relational database systems, the hosted relational databases, S3, EC2, elastic block storage, that kind of stuff. I have some fundamental knowledge on containers and Kubernetes, on like how to do it, like the basics, not advanced architecture patterns using Kubernetes. But I'm familiar with containers and container technology, CRI, standards for container interfaces and stuff like that. So still basic, kind of in that pipeline development kind of space. And most of the code that I'm interested in writing is related to data processing or integrating data sets. I have some statistical background. I have a multivariate book that is a lot of fun to read when I get around to it. Um, I don't do a whole lot of supervised learning. A lot of my interest is in unsupervised learning and classical statistics, frequentist mostly. And it's still because I'm exploring the basics on probability and the math related to a lot of those new, the better, Bayes, but no, some of the cooler probabilistic topics that have to do with modeling data and understanding distributions and relationships and likelihoods. My favorite statistic at the moment is the odds ratio. Um, uh, it's nice, like you can do quite a lot with like some simple statistics like the odds ratio. As far as calculating by hand, like true positive rate, false positive rate, my statistics background is, like in terms of formal coursework, is probably like 5 courses at the University of Delaware. All of the rest of it is reading, my multivariate, my probability books. Um, I'm a big fan of CRC Press, uh, the Cold Spring Harbor and CRC Press. Um, uh, yeah, there's like Rethinking Statistics, I think, is one of them that has a lot of nice probability topics in addition to data-oriented thinking, Golem of Prague, that kind of stuff. I'm overselling a little bit my interest level, in statistics. I view applied math as a really awesome tool to evaluate the world and to figure out what works. Um, I am familiar with laboratory topics. I've done mild uh, library design, cloning, that kind of thing, ligation. It's not even cloning; it's ligation. But library design, I did that by hand in my thesis as part of a master's program where I did both lab work, cleaned the fermenters, inoculated anaerobic culture, and took yield readings for 3 to 10 different metabolites, including butyric acid, which is a biofuel, butanol, which is also a biofuel, and ethanol and acetone, which are also fuels, solvents that come off of the organism that I was studying. Then at the time points, I took about 30 samples across three different replicates for each time, like each point in the design. It was both longitudinal and dose oriented, the experimental design. I planned that with the help of Dr. Venkataramanan and Dr. Papazakis, among others, at the Delaware Biotechnology Institute, which is part of UD. It's not an incubator. It's kind of like a halfway space. It's like, they have some industry presence in there, some laboratories that are doing specific work, and then otherwise it's space that's rented to professors in chemical engineering, biosciences, agriculture, and earth sciences, marine college, that kind of stuff. So there's a big presence there. Yeah, so that's kind of where I have come from. I do like to blog and learn about health topics, especially as they pertain to personal health and hygiene, that kind of stuff. I'm currently learning about different types of non-essential fatty acids that are polyunsaturated fatty acids that can build up in your system, and if you're not exercising, and you get a lot of them through your diet, as well as your body's able to synthesize them. So they tend to accumulate, and they behave essentially, fats, polyunsaturated fatty acids, a lot of them behave exactly like saturated fat. They aggravate a lot of different lipid-sensitive conditions, including cardiomyopathy, or cardiovascular disease, stroke, risk of stroke, embolism, that kind of stuff. So I do have a background in both, like I'm conversant. I would say I'm conversant in a lot of physiology topics, molecular biology specifically, and genetics. Um, it's been a long time since I've studied genetics, since like 2010, maybe 2011, maybe. Um, so I can't tell you what my favorite gene or pathway to study is. There's so many. I think cell cycle and cell cycle inhibition is one of the hottest topics in cancer research. I think metabolic network is also one of the hottest topics in cancer. It's also one of the hottest topics in biofuels and biotechnology, metabolic networks. And Illumina gene sequencing plays a huge part in a lot of those different fields. So that's part of my interest in these different technology fields. I wouldn't say I'm like amazing in terms of knowledge of security, but I know enough not to run an agent on my local machine, especially one from China. So I do build software systems. I'm a modest systems administrator and tech guy. I built my own machine. I knew to buy AMD. It's got 48 cores on it, so it books. I built a RAID 5 storage device that its total capacity is about 6 terabytes. That I use, so it's RAID 5, so that means it has redundancy and self-preserving, self-healing capabilities. I don't use ZFS yet. So it's the XT4, but it's a really awesome plug-in card that uses 4 different four of identical NVMe SSDs, and then arranges them on the software side in RAID 5, so that in principle, because of the way that they're formatted, I could take out the card, plug it in anywhere, and it would be able to be recognized. And it stores my working data. I do have other backup systems and other sysadmin related type stuff that I do. I can rice my machine. I rice my machine occasionally, but most of the time I'm trying to figure out what software stack I need, and a lot of my needs focus on documentation, licenses, readmes, and code of conduct, different simple topics that make building what you want to build easy to plug and play with other people. So that's me. I'm Matt. I'm a bioinformatician and also do a little bit of sysadmin related, like Linux stack configuration. It's not home labbing. Like a lot of people will just call it, "Oh, you're a home labber." Not exactly, because I don't run other people's software as much as I can. I run simple stacks like Olama. I don't use RAG. I just use it for chat. And it's free, so that makes it easier on my budget. So, anyway, in the future, a little bit more static typing, static compiled language programming, some more data structures, more databases, and more documentation and document ingestion. That's kind of my my primary career topic that I get on. In the future, I'd love to be able to do probably disease research or ecological research. Ecology has been something I've been holding out for, rather, because everybody knows that human and animal disease research is a huge cash cow. It's a huge cash cow. but they always want different experiences, diverse experiences. Speaking of diverse, diversity is the name of the game in ecology because you're studying resilience of ecosystems and biosystems to perturbation. So ecology is kind of my interest area, because one of the best memories that I had as a kid was walking around with, like, not like a Boy Scout troop, but like a group of people, um, and exploring nature. I used to sail. I used to be in a sailing camp. I have a lot of fond memories of the eastern shore of the United States, down Chesapeake Bay, going sailing on catamarans, sunfishes, and Flying Dutchman, which are all very small ships. They're all very basic boats that you can have teenagers, sail on. So, have lots of fond memories. Otherwise, I live in Delaware with my parents, my mom and dad, Donna and Tom. Oddly enough, I feel kind of like codependent with them because, like, once you reach a certain age, you realize how lucky you did have it, even though your brain is like, I want more, and sometimes that feels kind of nasty because you're like, well, did I deserve something different? Did I treat them to the best of my ability well enough? And so, love my mom and dad, my sister, and her husband, and their kids. Love them with all my heart. And just looking for a job, looking for collaboration, looking for someone with out of the box thinking to match my out of the box thinking, which is very in the box. Like, I'm creative in the terms of saying, no, that's what everyone else is doing. Let's try to focus on the stuff that not everybody's doing to build more niche skill sets in addition to my more mainstream skill sets. But out of the box thinking is in terms of, there's people that are probably in material science who could use my help, who don't have a lot maybe in terms of money to offer a contract or offer a duration. But that's because people think inside the box. Just what's the block of money that we can give this person, instead of thinking about, well, here's part of the block of money, and here could be an incentive for you to stay with us and develop your relationship. A lot of academics don't have the time to think like that. They think about the grad students that are in their building. There's enough grad students, but they're young. They do what other people, they're used to teachers telling them what to do. They're not as self-starter or as good on documentation as a professional might be who has had industry experience. So that's kind of my interest, is in helping someone who needs data analysis skills, and I was told that was the hottest Kool-Aid on the block. So doing it right is no joke. It takes a lot of time and effort. And currently I have the time. So if you're watching, please feel free to share to anyone who has a good idea about disease research, even if it's just researching a topic, if it's not even necessarily doing the software or the implementation. But that being said, I am a one-stop shop. I do research for hire. I do B2B type things as well, including producing including producing workflows and pipelines that can scale to hundreds or thousands of samples easily and are reproducible. So if any of those things sound interesting to you, or you know someone who might have a link or a need for someone with data science and natural sciences, software engineering, or biosciences specifically, or biochemistry, I have background in all of those things, including the instrumental analysis. I can run HPLCs. I'm not a professional at running HPLCs. I can run a GCMS. I can't service a GCMS. I can interpret lots of different types of data. I can't run an Illumina sequencer, but I can produce libraries that run on current things. I can do RT-PCR, qPCR, ELISAs. I've ran fluorescent activated cell sorting in the past, so I like cytometry and cytometry statistics. I like metabolites. I like looking at, I've done immunofluorescence and immunohistochemistry, so I do have a lab background in addition to this technical acumen. Some of that sounds cool. Give me a shout. Give it a like. Send me a message. My personal website is matthewralston.github.io. Check it out. Check out my CV or my blog, and send me a message. Have a good day, and hope you guys are enjoying this lovely weather. All right, see ya.